Really a pleasure to welcome everybody here today for this wonderful and august panel. I'll begin just by saying that many of you are undoubtedly familiar with the remark from Henry David Thoreau made after visiting Williams in 1844. Some of you probably could quote it, and that would be, "It would be no small advantage if every college were thus located at the base of a mountain, and that our location was, quote, as good as at least one well-endowed professorship." I really couldn't agree more with that sentiment, and I'm personally very grateful for our glorious location and the mountains that surround us. But I'm even more grateful for the Williams Outing Club and the many students, faculty, staff, and alumni leaders who've really made it their mission to make the outdoors accessible to everyone in the community so that we could all take advantage of the location in which we find ourselves. So joining us today to talk about the history of the Outing Club from their unique perspectives are some of those wonderful leaders, and I'm just going to introduce each of them to you. So we have James Briggs from the class of 1960, who's held just about every leadership position possible for his class, but also served as director of both Alumni Relations and the Alumni Fund from 1968 to 1985, the head coach of men's baseball from 1968 to 1993, and most importantly, the director of the Outing Club until his retirement in 1992 when Scott Lewis took over. And are you in order? You are in order. Tom Feist is next to him and spent much of his career as a scientist at General Electric, where he worked on things like data storage, solar power, energy efficiency, lighting, and medical imaging technology. Perhaps of more interest to this audience, however, he spent a year teaching chemistry and as assistant director of the Outing Club back in 1990, and since returned to teach chemistry classes at Williams and took on the task of revitalizing the Williams Ski Patrol program at Jiminy Peak. He currently teaches that patrol class as a fall semester and added winter studies skill practice on the snow. So thank you. Bailey McCullen from the class of '01 was Williams Outing Club president in 2000 and 2001. He works in alternative energy and lives in Boulder, Colorado with his wife and 6-year-old son. Dave Ackerson perhaps needs no introduction to this audience, but it's important to note that along with Scott, Dave is retiring after a tremendous career here at Williams as well this June from his role as assistant director of the Outing Club, a position he's held since 2008, where he is beloved by students and the equipment room master and the Williams Climbing Club advisor, and has helped to build fun and safe outdoor experience for thousands of WOC members, and we really toast your contributions to this program. Nora Randolph from the class of 2013. Nora started her Williams journey on the rock climbing wolf trip and has been recreating outdoors both personally, recreating outdoors both personally and institutionally ever since. She's an instructor monitor at the Williams Climbing Wall, worked with Dave in the equipment room, served on the WOC board, and was a regular sunrise hiker. Nora now works during the school year at the French Broad River Academy, an outdoors-focused middle school in Asheville, North Carolina, where she currently serves as 8th grade Spanish teacher, trip leader, and outdoor program director. All the way on the end, Charlotte Jones from the class of 2022, whose first year Wolf Trip led her to join the Williams Outing Club student board and become a Wolf director and president of the WOC board her senior year. She was a physics major at Williams and is currently working at MIT as a laser engineer. So I want to welcome this panel. You may notice I skipped one person, and I'm going to now just introduce the man who needs no introduction. So this brings us to Scott Lewis. Scott started his Williams career as assisting wrestling coach in 1987, and then added director of the Outing Club to his responsibilities in 1992, although he did still manage to guide the wrestling team to its only undefeated season in Williams history as head coach in 1995, before his final season in 1996. Under Scott's leadership, the Outing Club has grown to be more accessible and inclusive, than ever before, while providing some of the most meaningful leadership opportunities available for students at Williams. Scott believes the club thrives when students are true partners in building and leading the program. And many outing club leaders have gone on to careers in the outdoors or cite their time in the outing club as one of their most important Williams experiences, both guiding their time here and their time after Williams, and citing Scott's influence upon them. Personally, I can and I've often said that it has been a wonderful treat to have Scott in my life and in Steve's life. It's really been a wonder to watch him and his impact on the community as he brings an incredible energy and joy to his work that is really infectious and that lifts everyone around him. And I know for those of you who saw the pictures of Scott's handstand at commencement will know that that single feat lifted the spirits of the whole day up even higher than one could imagine doing at a commencement when everybody is already a little bit on cloud nine. So I'm so grateful to Scott for all he has done, including the trips he's taken me on, from cross-country skiing up at Prospect Mountain to hiking in the Grand Canyon with a crew of amazing Williams students. And so thank you so much, Scott, for all of that. So before turning this all over to the panel, I'll just close by noting that modern science has in fact proven what Thoreau told us in 1844, that spending time outdoors is good, not only for the soul, but for one's physical and mental health. And I know as a college president how crucial, how important this is. And I'm grateful to all the people, including many of you in the audience, I'm sure, who've helped encourage our students to avail themselves of our surroundings and all of the wonders that it does for everyone here. So thank you so much for being here, and I will turn it over to this wonderful panel. Thanks.
Oh yeah, great to see everybody. Maud, thank you so much. I have so many people to thank. I'm not going to get them all, but for sure, the support of Maud and Lou Fisher and in his office, and Veronica Bosley and Jordan Cahill and Emily, oh my goodness, I forgot her last name. Bush. Oh, Bourdignon, sorry. Awesome, and I mean, without you, we couldn't have had this whole weekend together, and it's been so fun, and seeing all these people. I mean, I'm overwhelmed with emotion, and I greatly appreciate that, and of course, all the support staff, everybody who helps out, so. I have been the recipient of many graduating events, as I call them, and I have thanked a lot of people. I somehow have been able to manage to almost neglect my wife every time. So I'm trying not to do that this time. And I want to acknowledge Bernice. I mean, this is a team effort. I mean, I couldn't give the time that I loved to give to this program if I didn't have the support at home with my family and all the stuff. Everybody has lives outside of Williams, and I tried to remember that. But I so appreciated Bernice, and she was able to come and do her thing in this community and be her artistic talent that she still does and shares with the many students. So Bernice, thank you. I do appreciate it. That said, the conception of this whole thing was, was we wanted to get some folks around that could really talk about their years, a walk through the years. So I'm not going to take up too much time. I promised I wouldn't take up too much time, and it's very hard to encapsulate like my 32 years, what that all meant, and all the people that have touched me, and I hope I've touched them, and how we've really grown this program to what it is today, and that I'm so grateful for. I mean, I've had this job. Like people say, what are you going to do next? I've said, well, I'm probably going to do the same stuff I've been doing for 32 years, just not get paid for it. It's been awesome. Like I've been able to live my passion, like to come and share that and to be in such a beautiful place in the Berkshires. I wanted to focus just on a few of the things that were really impactful to me and that I was able to bring to Williams. And I think I'm going to try to manage this. I had many mentors, and I certainly hope that I could that I could be a mentor to others. But I couldn't be here without certain people. First, my brother Peter, who was my North Star. I mean, he was just, he just, he was 8 years older and brought me out to Yosemite when I was 13, and it gave birth to me into the wilderness. So I wouldn't, and my brother was certainly just awesome, and I'm so appreciative of him. And then Bob Peck. Bob Peck, I mean, the former director, he has passed on here, the athletic director for many years, and did so much for the athletic teams here, especially women's sports on this campus. And Bob believed in me and opened up a whole door and, helped to create this whole position to where it is. So I can't, without Bob Peck, I would not have had a career. So thank you, Bob. And then I had another mentor right here. Now, I showed this picture only because I had hair. And I wanted to say, I really did have hair in my 20s. And that guy to the front, he's the father of outdoor education in this area. I had the great privilege when I was in my 20s to go out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, and spend a whole summer with Paul Petzold, sitting at his feet, literally, learning all about the outdoors and leadership. And and then he started Knowles. So he was the first chief outdoor, but Paul was an amazing, amazing mentor to me. It starts with the group. It starts with, there are so many photos, I just had to throw things, but it always starts with the outing club board. I mean, I get a lot of credit, I guess, for being the front person, but no. There's everybody behind us. We're all working as a total collaborative effort to build this outing club. Bernice and I lived at the Wildlife Sanctuary about 30 miles from here, a Mass Audubon Sanctuary, and it was paradise. It was just, sometimes I go to the Adirondacks, it was quieter at the Wildlife Sanctuary than it was where I was camping in the Adirondacks, so it truly is a sanctuary if you ever get a chance down in Lenox, Pleasant Valley. And we were able to bring students there every year, starting the fall of 92 when I came in, every year we started the fall retreat down there and sort of envisioned what our year was going to be, and then we'd climb up to this fire tower, and it was awesome to be able to share that. And then, programmatically, sunrise hikes. I don't know, they started many, many years ago, and I just love the sunrise hikes, and there's no better hike than Pine Cobble for the sunrise. Oh my good, it's just the right amount of oomph, and then the view, it's a north-south ridge running mountain, so you get up there, and there's the east glow. And sometimes, it's mostly sun-risen hike. But when we get a sunrise hike and you pop up on that last Hillary step of Pine Cobble and it's like the gold sun is just there, it's just perfect. But prior to that is the Elfin Fairy Tree. And I just want to say, if anybody been up there and have heard my story, there really are elves and fairies captured by someone from the Oxford program that I took up there. She sent me this photo and said, yes, Scott, there are elves and fairies at that tree. But the sunrise hike, amazing. As we got more creative, we got people that bring cellos up there, and of course, we did force march my daughter, Mariah, up there, awesome, even with M&Ms and teddy bears, and that was, she was awesome hiker getting up there. I think Dunkin' Donuts was also a really key point. Donuts, bagels, yes, essential, hot cocoa, and I do hope all those sunrise hikes continue. Next, my love was the Grand Canyon. I had worked there prior to coming here. I'd been a trail crew member and kept those strong connections. Bernice never forgave me for bringing her back east, so I promised we'd always go back to the Grand Canyon. And then this sign couldn't be more perfect. I would take it is a highway, and we did risk somebody's life always taking this photo. But I will say it was just awesome. I've done this since 1994. There is Adam Falk, the first president, not the only president to ever hike to the Grand Canyon, and Mihai Stoicu, a math prof. Oh my God, you think I got energy, that man. Oh, thank God he got married. But he's awesome. Mihai is just incredible. And this was my last trip to go to the Grand Canyon, and I was so grateful to have Maud and Lou Fisher come, and it was just incredible. And we had so much fun, and it was to share this. I think Bernice, I don't want to speak for you, Bernice, but I will try. We loved to share this. This meant so much to us, and to be able to share that with so many meant so much to us. And it was a great way to get back there. And we are the only college that could many colleges could do service work, but nobody could go down and be supported and stay at the trail crew bunkhouse. For a week, yes. And we were very, very fortunate. You do have to hike. We did work with the Park Service, and we did do work. We moved rocks and mud and dirt and all that. But, oh, man, we had so much fun. We got down there, and that would be the view from down in the bunkhouse and the porch. And we just had such an awesome time. And that was the Trail Crew Bunkhouse. Unfortunately, the sign is no longer there because it's no longer the Trail Crew Bunkhouse. But, oh, what a place to have. And there were showers and, refrigerators, yeah. The mules would bring down all our food, so it was just awesome. And we just had a blast. It was just incredible. And that, is this the hike out? Yeah, this was proof you made it. So we were a little tired in the face, but no problem, they sailed out. And then I had the good fortune and privilege to be in the Peace Corps out of college, my college years, and I was in 2.5 years in Liberia, and I was able to stay connected with that, and through the winter study program, when you can be so creative, I was able to develop a program, a cross-cultural experience to bring students back to Liberia. And these are two of my brothers here, William and Wilfred, very close friends who helped me to create this program. And 3 times we went back to Liberia, and it was awesome. And it is a small world. The first time I get to Liberia, I'm in Monrovia, and we're at this, I think it was like a mission place. By the way, that's Mary and Jimmy. That's a mother of one of my students, and she had been in the Peace Corps in Liberia, but she actually came with me to help me on this trip. But we're in this place, and we're just giddy. We've just gotten off the plane, and this woman, unfortunately, I don't remember her name in the center, said, Williams, I went to Williams College, and she was a doctor who was doing healthcare work there, and so we all gave her a shirt and put her in our photo. She's a doctor in San Francisco if you ever go there, but she was awesome. And this was a school that I helped to build at this leper colony, and we had students, and it was just so awesome that we got to share that experience. Coming back for programming purposes, when I first came on, I met so many amazing students, and Nate Lowe, just this incredible spirit. I'll never forget his quote. Nate and I would have these discussions, and Nate's whole attitude was, Scott, hey, when your house burns down, you just own a better view of the moon. And he was so Californian. And but that was Nate Lowe. And Nate was safe with everybody, but sometimes not himself. And he had a tragic passing. But because of Nate, when he first came up to me, he said, Scott, we got to build a climbing wall. Got to build a climbing wall here. I didn't even know of climbing walls. So Nate, I sent him around to look for climbing walls, and nothing satisfied him. So he got some boxes, and he comes in my office with this model. And to this day, I still have the model. I actually gave it to Sarah Brill, a close friend of his, as I'm cleaning out my office. And this was the model that he created. And then, unfortunately, he passed before that happened. But we took that model, got design plans, and we built the climbing wall. It is no longer here. The field house is down. The pillar was the last thing standing, though, as Dave will attest to it. But that was a climbing wall, and all from Nate's vision. So we were so happy. And then another person I really need to thank, who's been a great partner to the outing club, is Felix Grossman. When they built Pereski, I got into my office, and there was a plaque, the Felix Grossman Outing Club office, and I said, what? Who's Felix? I had no clue. And finally, Morty Shapiro got me to introduce Felix, and then we started to create a wonderful program. He does this great philanthropy with a school, Felix Ventures in Los Angeles. He takes them out climbing, takes them outdoors all the time. And I hooked him up with Dave Ackerson, and they just took a program to new heights. And every year I was going to the Grand Canyon, Dave was going to Joshua Tree to work with Felix's kids. And then Felix helped us create our new bouldering barn that I do, maybe Dave will speak to, but I really give great thanks to Felix. I got involved with some alumni, cool programming. I got to go up Kilimanjaro. It's endless imagination, endless things you could do. I was only limited by my imagination. I thought I was, but that, of programming that we could do. So I was just so happy to do that. And people are asking me what I'm doing. Well, I'm going to meet a lot of alum. I mean, there's a lot of people out there. They say that their driveway is available. So Bernice and I, we're going to be visiting, usually around dinner time. We'll pop in. We're good pop-ins. And, we're going to watch families grow. And, I'm just so excited. And today, the people that came back, I mean, we took this photo up on Pine Cobble, and I am just so very grateful for this opportunity, and I thank you all, and it's been a great run. So, thank you, Jim Briggs, Jim Cherda. Thank you, thanks, Jim.
Well, Scotty told me when I came in the door, he said, 5 minutes, that's all you get. 5 minutes. Now give the history of the Williams Outing Club in 5 minutes. So I'm going to skip a little bit of it, but I'll try to hit some of the high spots of the Outing Club. And Scotty's just done such a fantastic job with the Outing Club. It's different depending on who's running the outing club. Sometimes it's more towards skiing, sometimes more towards hiking, and sometimes more towards doing nothing. Anyway, here's a quick history of the outing club. April 20th, 1915, the outing club bylaws were written by a guy named Roland Palmetto, class of 1916 at Williams. A very interesting guy. I'm going to spend just a second on him. Once he graduated from Williams and did some other things, he went down on Wall Street, but he also started with a few other guys, Stowe ski area in Vermont. And when he came back from the Second World War, he said, this place is just, it's not what it should be. I'm going to go start another ski area, and he went down to Waitsfield, Vermont, and started Mad River Glen. And Mad River Glen was, he said, we want to keep this simple, keep what skiing should be, and so forth. He built the first Williams Outing Club cabin at Mad River Glen. And Williams College skiers during my era and before and after could go up and use that to ski at Mad River. He also, when he was skiing with a guy named Minnie Dole and another fellow, they had an accident and the other individual was hurt, and Minnie Dole and Roland took him down the hill on a piece of tin that he found and brought him down. And when that was over, he said to Minnie Dole, we got to start the National Ski Patrol, or you've got to start the National Ski Patrol, which Minnie Dole did. And anyway, I'm going to give a couple of dates now. In 1923 and 24, the Williams Outing Club sponsored all the winter athletic programs, interestingly enough. And they sent a team up to Dartmouth for the first time, and they won the Dartmouth Winter Carnival in skiing and so forth. In 1926 and 27, the Williams Outing Club paid 2 students a total for the summer, including them, of $800 and said, write a outing club trail guide. I think Tom may have, that's not the original, but on all the trails in Williamstown. And the 2 students wrote that, and it was called The Mountains of Eve. Now I think the latest edition, you got the latest there, Scotty? Yeah, there's the latest edition, and it's been, over the years, been developed and so forth, and has everything in it. Okay, now, the Second World War came, and after the Second World War, there's a guy came here that was hired by the name of Ralph Townsend. How many in here knew Ralph? One of the all-time greats. He was only about an inch taller than Scotty. And he fought the Second World War. He was a mountain climber. In Italy, he climbed behind the Germans and opened Italy up with naturally other troops, but it was a special climbing group. And Ralph Townsend, like Scotty, was one of the funniest guys that ever lived and one of the great human beings of all time. What Ralph did here, he was hired here as the ski coach, but he also was given the job of the Williams Outing Club. And he was called the advisor to the Williams Outing Club because the Williams Outing Club was basically run by students. He helped Berlin Mountain, the college ski area, which was the steepest thing I'd ever seen, and so forth. Ralph also got started the Wolf trips here. He coached the ski team. I think he even coached soccer when I was a student here, but I don't remember that for sure. And he is currently in the National Hall of Fame of National Ski Hall of Fame. Okay, I took over for him in the 1980s. I was doing a few other things at Williams, but I love the outing club and I love the outdoors. And the one thing I wanted to bring back was Mountain Day, which was when the president of the college would call classes off and everybody just took off for the mountains. But things had to be too organized when I was running the outing club, and I had to have, okay, which day is going to be Mountain Day, because everything had to be organized and ready to go for Mountain Day, and we did hike. When I came here, the outing club ran the picnics, the freshman picnics, and I came from the flatlands of Michigan, came here, had a pair of loafers on, and we had the picnic, and I'd forgotten who the head of the outing club was then, said, hey, we're going to go climb Mount Greylock. I looked over and said, which one is Mount Greylock? So I hiked up Mount Greylock for the first time, and I couldn't move for 3 days after it was over. Anyway, one thing I did bring here was canoeing. I bought 4 Mad River canoes so that the guys could learn how to canoe and so forth. And I hope you're still using them. Those are great canoes. I got a deal on them because I learned that the guy who ran the Mad River canoe was a Williams alumnus. Anyway, let me see. Oh, and the other thing I did when I was in the outing club, I was walking with a student once, and I said, well, what have you done in the outdoors? What have you done in the outdoors? And he stopped. He stood there for about 2 minutes. He said, I went into Central Park once. He said, I'm from New York City. I've never been out. I've never seen anything like this in my life, and so forth. So I started a phys ed course called Beginning Hiking and Camping for Students Who've Never Seen a Tree. And that turned to be a pretty good one. Let me just finish up here because I could go on all day. I wanted to say one other thing back here. Oh, I forgot to mention that the Williams Outing Club ran the whole winter sports program at Williams back in the old days. And they went up and beat Dartmouth, and in a thing, I may have mentioned that, but then all of that has moved somewhere else, and moved into the sports operation here. So the outing club is basically hiking, camping, and canoeing, and just outdoor things Scotty does, climbing everywhere, hiking everywhere, and so forth. Well, while I was here, I coached the freshman football team, and I was reading down a list of football players and so on and so forth, and I got to this guy, Tom Feist. Everybody looked at me, there was no Tom Feist. Tom Feist. And this one student says, Tom Feist is the biggest guy you've ever seen in your entire life. And then the ski program, we were getting ready to figure out who's going to lead the ski program and become ski patrollers and so forth. And I'm reading down a list. And Tom Feist, right here. I look over and the sun went away. And I said, where the hell were you when I wanted you? I don't need you now. Anyway, Tom became a ski patroller and has gone on and done all kinds of things in the National Ski Patrol after working in the real world for a while. And I want to turn this over to Tom right now. Tom, it's all yours.
Is there a clicker? Oh, yeah. Right one moves forward. Okay. Okay. I have very little left to say after you giving almost all my history information here. But Scott asked us to talk about the walk we experienced. And for me, I was sort of lucky. I got to experience at least 3 different ones. I was here as a student for 4 years on the board and doing activities. I was back after graduate school. Jim and I hatched this plan where he'd go on sabbatical and I'd be him for a year. So I was back as the advisor for a year, and now I've been back for the last 5 or 6 years working on ski patrol. So that's sort of fun. My favorite view, this is what happens when you scan a 40-year-old slide. Anyone tell at all where that's from? Not Pine Cobble. That one's Pine Cobble. That's the view from the Mount Prospect overlook. Of all the hikes and everything I've done in Williamstown, I've got to say that's my favorite spot. So anyway, I found that slide and going through the archives. And even back then, Scott, you could recognize that. It's always cold on top of Pine Cobble. I don't know. It wasn't today. It wasn't today, but it was raining. Anyway, I had the pleasure of being in the last class that worked with Ralph Townsend. That was really a treat. And then I was in the transition when Jim took over, and then the development office took Jim away, and Mary Lou took over for Jim for a couple of years. And so I got to go through all that. But as Jim said, there he is. We had snow sometimes back then. Mountain Day was revived, 1983. That was probably one of the more fun things that we did as an outing club board. Anyone recognize the trail? Anyone? What's that? I think that's Roaring Brook, if I recall. Because anyway, but that was fun. As Jim alluded to, Carnival, all the winter sports were run by the outing club, and so it was very serious. Do you still do the throwing out of the first ski? No. That was a big event, the tossing out of the first ski. Bill Moomaw, for anyone who remembers those names. And this was the 80s, so we actually had snow at Winter Carnival sometimes. And we built snow sculptures, which was always fun. Some of you might remember those. But most years we didn't have snow at Williams. It always melted in January and early February. So the cross-country ski race in 1984 was an obstacle course in the mud. But on the snow, we took the racing very seriously, as you can tell. And we pulled Carnival off. It was an amazing thing. If you look at the organization that goes into an FIS level ski race now, somehow we still pulled these off in the 80s. My big activity, as Jim alluded to, for many years was ski patrolling. I got started here in 1981, 82, and have been doing it ever since, and it's great to be back. A couple of pictures here. These are the current ski patrollers, or some of the recent years of ski patrollers that you might recognize. Still doing the same thing, skiing, putting people on backboards. everyone's favorite first aid skill, the impaled stick in the eye. Anyway, we did get new jackets finally, which thank you Outing Club for that. But the Ski Patrol's been part of the Outing Club for almost ever, but part of the National Ski Patrol since 1939. It was one of the first chapters that was implemented, so a nice piece of history there. As I said, it snowed in the winter. Anyone spend any time in the Dorland Memorial Cabin? Is it still standing?
It is still standing.
Okay. Is it condemned yet?
No, not quite.
So I'll wrap up now with sort of current day. This was not a Williams trip per se, but for people who might recognize a couple, this is a piece of the Outing Club board from 1984-85. We still get together every year in Jackson Hole and go backcountry skiing. So a couple of Gosses, a Hal Lisinski, myself in there, which is fun. And carrying the Outing Club on, I just got to show a picture, advertisement, me and my daughter, wearing the Williams wear. It actually, the vests there are Williams Ski Patrol. And so it's been an impact for me, and I think for many people that's carried on for more than the 4 years here. So with that, and thanks to Scott for putting all this together, that was the picture from my dorm room my sophomore year, so I got to look at pine cobble every morning and every evening, and I highly recommend the current REI catalog that came in the mail. Oh, Williams Magazine that came in the mail the other day. It was very timely. So with that, I will turn it over to Bailey. Oh, I won't. I'll turn it over to Scott.
Oh,
Scotty?
yeah.
At one point, the Williams Outing Club had 4 cabins, and we're down to 1 right now.
That is correct. And the lean-to, and the walk lean-to.
The lean-to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still,
With a nice out.
yeah, it's, well, no, not anymore. Thank you for reminding me. So we have one panelist who couldn't be here, Willard Morgan. I can't say enough about Willard. About as tall as Tom, actually maybe a little taller. But Willard came in the same year I came in the fall of '92, and he just glommed onto the Outing Club, thank goodness, and that was Willard's thing. And he just went on to not only be an incredible leader, but he has been, a great friend to me. He was the interim director when I took my first sabbatical in 2003, and when I got back, his last name's Morgan. He Morganized the Outing Club. I mean, I still use his white binders that he set up back in 2003. It's like, wow, Willard, this is awesome. And so I am so grateful for Willard. And Willard is, he is the engine behind with Lou that has helped to create this whole weekend and do some fundraising. So I am so grateful for Willard. I'm sad he couldn't be here, but his daughter's graduating high school, which is so awesome for Willard. So I think I can get this going on. I don't know if I have to do anything more to make this work.
Hello, my name's Willard Morgan. I'm class of 1996. Thank you, Scott, for asking me to join you today. I'm sitting by Ben Brook in Alna, Maine, and I'm sorry I can't join you. Just want to share a few thoughts on my experiences with the Williams Outing Club, and hopefully it adds to the total picture being laid out by the group of folks here today. I just want to start by just reflecting on the place, Williamstown, and North Berkshire is just a really special region. It's really unusual to have a college situated such at the base of a mountain. Someone has said that before. And many mountains, and with incredible access to do the whole range of outdoor activities that we can imagine, either walking right from campus or being on a bike or on skis or a short vehicle ride away. So that's super special and a huge asset for the college, and the Williams Outing Club is a big part of getting people out to take advantage of the special place. I was class of 96, which means I started in fall of 93, which was when Scott started in his role. And it was a unique and special convergence, I think, and that Scott was coming in with his perspective and background as an outdoor educator and wanting to bring a certain approach to doing that. And he had a group of students in the class of 96 that had some degree of experience and were pretty eager to also add to what the Williams Outing Club offered. So we had a great convergence starting in the spring of 93 through the spring of 96, and we accomplished a lot together. I remember when we were doing the first extended weekend wolf leader training, adding more skills like wilderness first aid and preparedness to that training. We were able to grow the length of wolf trips, the number of wolf trips, and the budget of wolf trips. And then over time, also just add more to the general level of activity. We, some of the milestones, I know we increased the membership fee at the time from 5 to 10. It hadn't moved in years and years. But at the same time, we offered so much more. And membership in the outing club from when I started at about $250 went to about $850 senior year. So we were offering more trips and activities and PE classes and more skill building and development. So I think students felt like there was a lot to gain, and it was fun. It was fun to be a member of the club. During that time, we also started work on the North Berkshire Outdoor Guide, what was called the Williams Outing Club Trail Guide. Had maybe been in 8 or 9 editions. It was more of a pamphlet, and we had a vision to increase the scope of that book to tell the bigger story of what it means to get outdoors in the North Berkshire region. So that was a project that started while we were in school, and it was inspired in part by Farms to Forest, another project that I had been a part of. And we had the sense that we could do something bigger and better. And so we began the process of revising trails descriptions, writing new sections, so working on the book itself, and then working on the map, which at the time, this is pre-Google Maps and digital mapping software being easily accessible. So we started hand digitizing 9 USGS quads, all the contour lines and other features, and working with Pat Dunleavy, the local cartographer, who was our mentor and who was going to finish the map. We never finished that project, and although, as we graduated in '96, at a time when Scott and us and students coming after us had really expanded the scope and the activities of the outing club, other students took that on. The North Berkshire Outdoor Guide, I think, couldn't quite get fully to the finish line, so I came back in, I think, 1999, and Scott hired me to finish that book at the time and work with Pat to finish the map. And we produced something I think we were really proud of. And I think it's really describes what maybe the vision of the outing club can be, which is we can get students and other members of the campus community and the local community and visitors out into the great resources around Williams College. So the last thing I just want to mention is that in 2002, 2003, I had the good fortune to be asked by Scott and then hired by Harry Sheehy to come back and be his sabbatical leave replacement. That was a great opportunity for me. I had spent the past 4 to 6 years largely being outdoors, working as a guide, as an instructor, learning conservation science. So I think I brought a fair amount of skills back to the role and was able to really support Scott in his vision, which was to continue to strengthen the outing club. So I really focused on any chance I had to represent the outing club in the design of what became the new student center to replace Baxter Hall and make sure the outing club had a good location there and adequate space and resources, always working to grow the budget in reasonable ways to support the program. And then I think I really focused myself on training leaders and training energetic students. I think with the skill set I had, I was able to help advise of where we could actually push a little harder and where it was good to actually pull back because we didn't have the skills to operate safely. So that was a really fun year. It was a great group of students in class of 2003, but also the following classes. And I think what I most enjoyed were the years where you had a lot of student interest and a certain degree of skill, and then that special mix of support from Scott, or in that year as a sabbatical leave replacement for me, to help make things possible so that students could do things they didn't otherwise have access to. And that's really the gift, I think, of the outing club, is that student drive and interest, the location, the setting, and then the support from a skilled adult in the director role. So anyhow, it's a little bit of the time that I was involved, mostly 1992 to 2003. Been less involved since, but super glad to see the outing club be lifted up during reunion weekend and around the retirement of Scott Lewis and Dave Ackerson. And thanks for piping me in. Hope you all have a great rest of the panel. Take care.
All right, we're obviously running a little longer than expected, so I will try to be extremely brief. But I think the goal in my mind is, or the notion I'd love to get across is that the outing club is absolutely central to the Williams experience, right? Williams, to me, is defined and attracts students by being about intellectual curiosity, academic rigor, its pastoral, beautiful setting, and community, a sense of community. And I would say through Wolf Trips and through WOC, the vast majority of students access at least 3 of those 4 main criteria. We may not be the most academically rigorous part of the institution, but I think at least we take the best advantage of the pastoral setting. We build community in a way that is, I think, broader than almost any other part of the institution. So I came in to be president of the outing club in the fall of 2000, and Heather Williams and Scott and a few other folks had been working the previous year to get interim president vote to allow Mountain Day to again be a spontaneous activity. And so all of a sudden they were successful, much to I think everyone's surprise, and so our group on the outing club board suddenly had to plan a spontaneous outing day, Mountain Day. And it was phenomenal. It was such a gift because it created so much buzz and an activity that maybe got 100 students to show up the previous year. We started, posting signs surreptitiously around campus saying, Mountain Day is coming, it's coming. And it started to get a lot of buzz, and so all of a sudden we got 600 students up to Stony Ledge that first Mountain Day, where it was back to being a spontaneous activity. So it was absolutely awesome. The other thing that happened that fall is that Mariah joined Scott and Bernice and their family. And that meant that Scott took a little bit of paternity leave. And not very much, but at least one critical weekend that I remember where we were trying to assert the centrality of the outing club to the Williams experience at that time too, and so we decided we wanted the outing club to be present in sort of unusual events. And to us, that was homecoming. So at 5 a.m., we parked the outing club van in the most prominent spot at Weston Field, right behind the goalposts. And we took over. We got out the camp stoves, and we were serving cider and hot chocolate to everybody all day. And I can also tell you the best place to see the game is from the roof rack of a 14-passenger van right there. And they can hold a lot more than you think they can, for sure. So the other thing we try to do, maybe similar to what Willard was describing, is we tried to introduce some additional training programs. So Becky Sanborn led the development of what we called the Mountain Guide program. And I'm not sure if that still exists today, but it was essentially a chance for folks to go through a set of courses to try and gain wilderness first aid skills and leadership skills and really professionalize something that a lot of us were doing. We were already leading summer trips. We were doing a lot of activities in the outdoors, but it just didn't have the kind of rigor around it that maybe other parts of the institution did. So we tried to expand that activity as well. Then the last piece that was maybe not central to everyone's experience, but certainly to mine, is Scott was kind enough to sponsor a winter study my senior year, where Malin Penske and I followed in his footsteps, building a birch or I guess a cedar and fiberglass canoe in the art studio. And we definitely didn't get it done, at least not in that first month, but Malin eventually did before he graduated. And it was a chance for us to work with our hands, try skills we hadn't practiced before, manage a project, getting materials, and doing all of the things to actually, get a physical object to completion here, and it was phenomenal. So, Scotty, I cannot thank you enough for everything you've done and for putting the Outing Club at the center of the Williams experience for thousands of us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Scott. Thank you. This way? Nope. Going the wrong way. That you didn't use. Okay.
It's the right arrow.
Yep, I'm doing the right arrow. Oops. There's a, uh-oh, he put those all in backwards. Cool. We'll deal. We got them in. Okay. So I'm going to be bouncing around because I think the instructions on where these slides were supposed to go in what order. Technology is never my strong suit. This is our bouldering barn. This is one of the last really big things that we had at in the Outing Club. The field house unfortunately disappeared, and we just after the field house disappeared, this structure came online. The timing was almost like we planned to set the field house down, but we didn't. This is our bouldering barn. This is our newest facility. It's being used right now pretty heavily. I'm sure there were a lot of people when I was down there earlier. This should be interesting. This is the field house. This is the blacklight climbing night at the field house. One of the highlights of our climbing season was the blacklight climbing night. We used fluorescent holds, we used white shirts, and a lot of black lights and a lot of big long lead cords to light the whole thing up. It was always a real fun time, and we were there. This was also part of the climbing wall. This is one of my fellow panelists' first lead climb on the climbing wall, and this was one of the things that I enjoyed a lot about my part at Williams was being able to individually instruct students. I taught classes, yes, but I was also able to spend some quality time with some students to do some individual teaching, and it was very good. This was Charlotte and I down at the climbing wall learning to lead climb, and that was a good time. This is the barn before it was all brand new like you saw it before. It was a long process. Felix Grossman, Lou helped a lot. Scott was a huge driver. I don't have a slide of Mujo Lou, class of 13, who was sort of the originator of the idea that we need a bouldering, or we need some sort of bouldering facility. We found this place. This is down at the Pond House, the IWS. And it is now, you already saw a slide of it because something happened. We're not going to go there. We'll go there. Okay. This is the equipment room. I did climbing and I did the equipment room. This was me in the equipment room. I thought you might like this, Scott. Somebody left the Mickey Mouse ears down there, and I put it together with my mask and goggles that I use for doing things down there and took a photo. Sent it to the WOC board, said if anybody comes into the equipment room and signs, takes stuff without signing out, I'm coming to get you. So, it didn't work. Here's the field house, one of the last photos of the field house. And it's sad, and that's sad also. This was a Joshua Tree trip in our trip last night, the barbecue last night. It was spoken of. This was Leif Elliott, who was one of the climbers who went with us on the trip. Unfortunately, passed away in the summer after his senior year. There's a memorial to him down on Science Quad. If you're wandering around down there, it's out in the middle by that brand new maple tree. Mountain Day, what would WOC be without Mountain Day? I could have done without it because I didn't really have fun at it. I did a lot of work for Mountain Day. I moved stuff up the mountain and I moved stuff down the mountain. I got to hike once, I got to hike up once, I got to hike down once in 15 years. The most fun I had was Scott would give me his truck to drive down, and I would drive it down the back road, Greylock Road. Don't tell Scott. Don't tell Scott. It was a fun ride down the hill. I always had a good time with that. Here it is. This is an opening slide for my talk today. When I first came to Williamstown, Scott took me out to Chef's Hat, said, Dave, I'd really like to hire you. I like, what you've done. I like where you've been. But there's not a position yet. But we'll work on it. We'll get it. We'll make it work. And but I've got some things that you could do. So I taught PE classes on a sort of per diem basis. This was a PE class up off the class of '98 trail. Back when I had hair and back when it was brown. Took PE classes up there, had a very good time. Here's another PE class. This is up at Stone Hill. We used to take students up there and go climbing up at Stone Hill. Most of what I tried to do here was climbing. That was my focus in what I like to do. That's my sport. And this was a PE class that we went climbing up at Stone Hill. Another photo of the poor old field house. You can't really see it. Oh, yes, you can. That pillar. That's the pillar that Charlotte was on. That was the pillar that was instrumental in holding the field house together as long as it did. This is one of my favorite photos. I used to lead a trip to Joshua Tree, thanks to Felix Grossman, a great benefactor of the outing club. We would go out and we would take his students climbing, and we would climb for a couple weeks. So in order to go climbing, you have to set up anchors. You have to build structures at the top of the cliff so you can hang the rope off, so you can be safe. We were very safe. Nora alluded to that last night, how safe we were and how thorough we were. Unfortunately, one of my students didn't get that message, and this has one fatal flaw, this anchor here. What?
How many kilonewtons is the snake rated to?
It's not actually wrapped around the snake. No, the snake. So when I started to go up there and clean it, and it was, and I looked under the rock and I said, no, I'll let that snake be for a while. And the snake finally went away, and I was able to get our gear back. But that's one of my favorite photos from there. Good old Joshua Tree. And this is Joshua Tree also. This is 2010. In 2010, we did our first trip out to Joshua Tree. In no particular order, well, maybe I'll get it. Josephine Warschauer, Tori Borish, Mujalu, who I mentioned before, in the middle, Ed Gowan in front, and I believe that's me in the front, so it must be Sam Murray, who was on campus. I don't know if she's in here today, taking the photo from those times. This was the climbing wall as it was falling apart. I got a call on a Wednesday night saying, Dave, there's something wrong with the climbing wall. And I called, and 3 days later, they closed the field house. The field house is no longer. So we moved to the rink. That segue worked out well, actually. We moved Wolf to the rink, and this is one of the few shots that I have of Wolf as we were trying to get it ready down in the rink. The routes required moving. You can see the racks on the right side required moving everything, the entire equipment room, down to the rink or the field house. Sometime rolling racks down Spring Street was always a fun thing, rolling racks full of clothing down Spring Street. And this is not me. That was Nora's or Charlotte's. I don't have much else. I apologize for the disjointedness of that. There was a communications problem. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave.
My walk journey started with Wolf, of course, and it was amazing, of course. And I was on one of the climbing trips, and I ended up at the climbing wall after my first week or so of classes because I was so excited about climbing. And at the end of the night, some of the upperclassmen said, we're going swimming at the Green River. And I said, oh, well, I don't have a bathing suit. And they said, that's okay, you won't need one. And I was like, okay, oh. And it was like a little bit of a rite of passage, not the skinny dipping specifically, just the idea that people were going to put out invitations and you could say yes and become a collaborator in some playfulness and adventure and community building, which we've talked about some already. And that was kind of the beginning of like the outing club is more than just itinerary of activities, which we also had wonderful activities, but it was the like collaboration and community on campus, and being one of the biggest clubs, it also meant that like, everyone was part of it. You'd walk around and see people that you'd noticed on your last trip or hike and be like, oh yeah, like we're in this together. We have the same goal of playfulness. And that was a pretty important part of college, I think, for everyone who was here. And I don't know how to compare my time at WOC with other times, because I only had my time, but I just wanted to share a couple stories. I remember when I was getting ready to drive the WOC van for the first time, Scott training me, and we got to the end of the training and we're parking the van back at the 62 Center parking lot, and he goes, okay, this is how you park the van. You have to back it in, of course, and you just back it up very slowly up until the wall, and then when you feel it bump, you pull it forward an inch or two, and it's parked. And then I was thinking back, and I think the WOC van really features heavily in my memories of this institution. And I spend a lot of time driving 15-passenger vans full of teenagers now for my job. And what happens now, you get in a van and all of the people say, okay, let's make this Spotify playlist, and someone's pulling up the Google Maps directions on your phone. And my era of Williams was like, most of us did have phones, and they were all flip phones, and we certainly had no Bluetooth, and so you'd make your mixed CDs, and we bring our mixed CDs in the vans with us, or like maybe 50 mixed CDs if you were driving to Kentucky for spring break, which we did multiple times. And we got to challenge the Middlebury kids to bananagrams. We got really stinky, and we climbed, and we put hand warmers in our chalk bags because it was snowing out. And these are just like stuff that dreams were made of. We drove the WOC van to a drive-in theater and then all fell asleep during the movie because we were so tired. And then in our senior year, 2012, 2013, Scott's on sabbatical, and so Dave had the honor of getting driven crazy by us on the WOC board. And we had the honor of Gabe Lewis and all of his friends. So we had some of that like rowdy spirit, and they all lived together, and we called it the outhouse. And at that point, the WOC van had gotten one particular mixed CD stuck in the CD player. Some of you might remember this, and we listened to it over and over and over again. And then eventually it just got one track stuck. And it was Shakira, Waka Waka, hey, hey. And we couldn't ever decide to turn it off. We just had to listen to that track. And since Scott wasn't here, my friend Sonia and I were leading all the sunrise hikes, and every morning on Friday we just listened to that Shakira song. And that's one WOC tradition that did not stick, and thank goodness no one needed that. But I just really I just want to reiterate that we led so many cool trips and so many cool activities, and we camped on Stone Hill every week, and we hiked the Sunrise every week, and we went to the Adirondacks, and we went to everywhere, and that's great, but it was really just the day-to-day looking around and seeing other adventurous, community-based, really playful people that made Williams College what it was for me. I like to joke that I got a major in comparative literature, but that's only because there wasn't an outing club major to be had. It's just, so what an amazing way to be able to spend our time.
Hi all, I'm Charlotte Jones, class of 22. And child of class of 89, so woo! So what I have thought about a little bit as this panel has gone on is that I'm only 2 years out from my graduation, and so I don't have the foresight to have thought about order of pictures or that type of thing. But I also am not really at a place where I can have the hindsight to look back and say, this is the history of what happened during my time on the outing club and participating in WOLF every year. So instead, I would like to talk a little bit about some of the major memories for me that I think convey what I learned from Scott and Dave. And then I have a couple of pictures that will be in some sporadic, random order. And we'll just see what we get. Let's see. Okay, this is my first WOLF trip. So, like all good things, as Nora said, my time at Williams started with WOLF. And for me, within 24 hours of starting my WOLF trip, I was in the emergency room with Scott because I got a concussion and I ended up having to leave campus for the entire year. But that 4 hours in the emergency room, it really made a difference, guys, because I came into Williams thinking that I was going to be a trombonist, and no, I ended up being the outing club girl. And I am so glad that conversation happened, because I really was able to reshape my values and recognize that I really cared about people who cared about me, who wanted to mentor me, and who wanted to quietly lead and be playful. And I think that's something that the outing club and WOC do a really great job of. What are we going to have next? Another WOLF picture. This is from when I was WOLF director my senior year. And this is one of my co's, Aiden Lloyd Tucker, the phenomenal, in his classic chacos and onesie. Anyone who knows Aiden knows that he wore chacos all year round, and still does probably. So once I came back to Williams, I decided, like, yep, I'm going to commit to WOC. I think I really liked the energy that I met with Scott and through the WOLF people that I met when I came back to campus. And so I joined the board, and Scott sent out an email saying, you know, if you want to teach a PE class in winter study, which is this really cool thing that we can do at Williams, right, that you should sign up for a class that Dave is going to teach. He's going to take people out to Savoy State Forest and take you all on a snowshoe. And so 3 of my closest friends now and I ended up on this snowshoe in Savoy, and I had never snowshoed before, and that's now my favorite hike in the world. I've probably led the most trips in Savoy State Forest because you have things like the Yoda or Sid the Sloth tree. You have a couple of really beautiful mini waterfalls, and then the view at the end is stunning. And most importantly, I think we had a couple of wonderful hikes in Savoy, and that's one of those places where Dave really impacted me and allowed me to think about how to be calm and take space for myself in the outdoors. And I really appreciated that. And then I have a couple of pictures that there's some WOLF directors, my WOLF trip, Mountain Day. This is the picture I want. Okay, so this is a picture that is not, it doesn't actually take place here. It's called Two Guides by Winslow Homer. It's in the Clark. It was painted in 1877. And for Art History 101, my senior spring, we were asked to take a picture in the Clark and recreate it with people in our own lives, and then talk about why it mattered to us. And senior spring, I was thinking a lot about what had mattered to me while I was here, and thinking a lot about how Scott and Dave in particular had given me the key and a lot of tools that I was planning on taking into the world. And so I walked into the Clark and I saw this picture and thought, wow, you've got the person who clearly has experience pointing to the next step, and the person in the hat with the new tools and the shiny red shirt ready to go is leaning into the next experience. And so Scott, Dave, and I took a trip up Pine Cobble, or not Scott, Dave, sorry, that's Aiden. I'm just so used to saying it all in a sentence. So Scott, Aiden, and I took a trip, and we recreated the picture. And so we've got Chacos and Nalgene's, classic Gen Z earthy crunchy on one side, and then we have Scott, who has so much experience and wisdom that he's passed on to us, on the other. And it was a really special day for me, and of course, in classic Scott fashion, he also brought an axe, and we cut down 2 different trees. So, thank you so much, Scott and Dave, for the opportunities and tools that you have given me and so many people, including people on this stage, to lead and to be caring members of the communities that we choose to be a part of. I hope that you will all join me in a round of applause for Scott and Dave and the future of the Outing Club.
I think I'll just use my booming voice that I was told I had. We have gone over a little bit of time. I think there may be some snacks out there. We'd love to answer any questions. We'll go out there. I can't thank the panel enough. Thank you guys for Willard was really powering this fundraising thing and getting this weekend. Charlotte was a big part of that as well. I forgot to mention that. Get out and play. We've had a great time. Enjoy. Thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and we'll see you around. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mark.